sütemény, mogyoró van az ő tetején. Ilyet én nem kapok, ha ezért zokogok, tudom, sajnálnak az angyalok. Nekem nincs anyukám, apukám, csak egy fél kifli az uzsonnám. Közben jó édeském illata száll felém, jaj de jó a habas sütemény.
Hello and welcome to Conversations with Nurit. I am Nurit and I'm speaking with you today from Budapest, Hungary. And my guest today is my dear friend Barbara Young. And Barbara is speaking with us today from Santa Barbara in California. Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
So nice to see you.
Oh, this is wonderful. It's so good to see you. I can't believe that you're more than a half hour away.
Yeah, it's Barbara's. It's morning time for you and the evening for me. And Barbara.
It doesn't stop us.
No. Barbara and I have been friends for many, many years. We actually met on your birthday. We met on Barbara's birthday, January 13th. So remember that date? And their flowers. And that was 1989, and in Toronto. And I saw you. I came for a job interview as a colon therapist. And you were just walking through. I think it was your first visit, and I took one look at you, and you had this glow about you, and I recognized you. I don't know how, but I felt like I've known you all my life. And then I found out that you had a teacher and you belonged to this group, and I said, oh my God, if people in this group are like Barbara, I'm joining. And of course, the next 15 years I was in the same teaching with Barbara until that experience ended, and we kind of parted ways for a while. Barbara eventually went to Australia, and I eventually came to Hungary, each with their respective husband. And as it turns out, both Barbara's husband, Robert Young, and my husband, Gabor Hassani, have become our teachers and our husbands. We have that in common. Of course, our chairs are matching too, but that's not a we have a lot in common. Yeah, so we reconnected.
How wonderful.
Yeah. So we're starting a new series, and maybe a series. It all depends on the viewers. We thought that we would have a chat together on video to talk about our experiences and what it's like to live with someone who is awake and who is present and is able to guide us in the same way. And so how it changed our lives, and hopefully it will help others, and hopefully there'll be others who will want to share their similar experiences as well.
Wonderful.
So we're starting this one today, and if you like it, please share it with your friends. You can subscribe to my channel. You can click like on it, and if we see that there's a nice response, we'll continue to do like a series. It will continue more and more because we have so much to share. I doubt in one session we'll be able to capture everything, but we'll try. And so we'll continue if there's a demand for it. If not, then Barbara and I will keep chatting together. We'll enjoy it all for ourselves. So I'm going to start with you, Barbara. We're going to interview each other, by the way. So my question to you is, tell me what is one of the biggest changes that happened for you internally, spiritually, and not, for lack of a better word, I don't like the word spiritual anymore, but for lack of a better word, as a result of meeting Robert and being with him?
There are so many, but the one that comes into the forefront right now is it's okay to do nothing. I came from, what have I accomplished? Am I wasting my life? And I have so many things to do. And Robert just said, just be. Now, I heard that before, and I used to tell, oh, forget it, just be. But when Robert said that, and I realized the fullness of being with him and doing nothing was amazing. How about you?
Actually, that was one of mine too. Yeah.
Two peas in a pod here.
Well, it's funny how it happened, because shortly after I got together with Gabor, I lost my job. Blessing. Blessing number one. And we would get up in the morning and have our coffee, and I was like, okay, let's plan the day. What are we doing today? How can I be more efficient and productive and accomplished? And no, we're just gonna sit. And we just sit and be and talk and be. And he taught me how to be present. And so we're sitting and being present with each other, and just being, enjoying our coffee and being. And we still do that till that has never stopped.
That's right.
And it's not like we don't get any. Actually, we get a lot done, but it's not planned so much. The only thing we plan is when we have appointments with Gabor's clients, or interviews like this. But most of the time, nothing is planned, and we go about our day, and things happen.
That's right.
And what I love about it so much is it really showed me how the thought interferes with the universe opening doors and allowing things to occur. And when there's no thought and there's just being, it's amazing what unfolds. I mean, my life has never been so magical like it has been since I've been with Gabor. The
That's
doors
right.
that have opened, the contacts that we've made, meeting you again, and listening to Robert's broadcast every Sunday. It's just been amazing for both of us, and finding all the parallels. It's just been like a magical life.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you mentioned Robert's broadcast, and he opens it every Sunday with welcome to the world of magic and miracles.
Yes.
And we live that.
Yeah.
The other thing about being quiet and not planning is that you're allowed and you're able to hear signals. And if I would ask Robert, well, should I do that? He said, well, if it came to you, obviously you're supposed to. I said, what? I mean, all of this was just, am I allowed? And then I feel like a child because that's how we are as kids.
Yes.
And when he was first interviewed in 2009, Alan Steinfeld, he speaks all about children. And I have 3 wonderful children, grown up now, and that was my experience. And I loved, now this is funny, just coming to me, I loved being their mother. And there was a time in my life when I could have had a vocal career. And I had a coach, and she said, well, you're just going to have to go on the road. And I said, well, as long as I'm home every night. She said, what? You can't do that. And I said, but I have 3 children. And then she looked at me. I'll never forget her face. She said, you really like your kids? I said, yeah. I love them. So there went the vocal career. But look what's happened. So much more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said about what Robert said to you. If it comes to you, then of course, and you know, and that's kind of the way we're born. I mean, a kid doesn't think, should I play with that toy or should I not? Should I eat my food, my Brussels sprouts first, or should I eat my dessert first? But we beat it out of them.
Yeah.
You know, as adults, we beat that out of the kids, and we send them to school, and we train them not to think for themselves, and worse than that, not to feel for themselves.
So
And
I remember, excuse me, I don't want to jump in here, but
yeah,
there's, Robert said one thing about, did you ever see a little child who's just crawling? And then all of a sudden, they'll look over there and they go, oh, and they have the idea where the pots and pans are? There before you will. And that's how children are.
yeah,
It opens up that whole, it's like the universe says, oh, goody, they're listening.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I have been speaking quite a bit lately, interviewing actually two people related to this topic of education and children. As you know, one of them is Stefan Hine, a German teacher who
Wonderful.
he just adores children, and he's learned so much from children. That's what his big awakening was, as a result of becoming more like a child. And the other day, I interviewed Fred Donaldson, who plays with children, and a video is going to come out any day now. It's going to be wonderful, and it's been really wonderful also to watch Gabor with his students. He's starting to get them to play more and
Mm-hmm.
to do funny things, to get out, to be more playful and more mischievous even, and funny, and to get away from the seriousness.
Yeah.
You know, we arrived in this world lighthearted, and we become heavy. No wonder we're putting on weight. You know?
Well, you know, when I had three children, David, Debbie, and Danny, the three
Oh,
Ds.
with D's, the 3 Ds.
And I remember David so clearly. He would just stop, look up, and be listening. I never interrupted him. Some intelligence came through there. But what do most people say when kids are sitting by themselves? They say, "What's the matter?"
Yeah.
And now I would say, nothing is matter. It's all my spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I very much appreciate from what I learned from Gabor is to listen,
Mm-hmm.
not just to children, but to others as well. And you know, it's funny because I was training managers in
I remember.
corporate world, and part of the course was about listening, and they call it active listening. And what I know now, I could see that has nothing to do with listening.
Yeah,
And you can't really listen unless you're present.
that's
And
right.
even then, there's a subtle thing that I learned from Gabor is some people, they're waiting.
That's right.
So they're not really listening. They're not being with the person. They're waiting. It looks like they're listening because they're not interrupting. They're not there.
So they're getting their speech ready.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I know that.
So that's
Well,
one of
you
the
know,
things. Yeah.
there's something else that happened just this morning that was amazing. And I think this is what I adore most about Robert, is his support
Mm.
of who you truly are. And that came so loud and clear to me this morning that there was no Robert present. It was just Barbara. And if we were going to do this outside, he said, "Do you want me to put up the canopy?" I said, "What? You do that for me?" I mean, just, I guess, I guess we're not really supported through our lives.
No.
And Gabor, I can't say enough.
Yeah.
The love that we are receiving is that which we should have been receiving our whole lives.
I know. Yeah. I have this. I can't believe it. It's exactly the same experience. I have to pinch myself. Sometimes I said, he's so supportive, and I said, really? And like my other teachers, not to mention names, my first teacher, if he ever quoted any other teacher, it would have to be either a teacher who was already dead,
Right.
or a teacher that you could never ever reach.
Right.
It's and if you read a book by somebody, another teacher, I in India there was actually a girl that was kicked out of the ashram because they found a book by another teacher under her bed, and and there's or they would say, yeah, but he's a great teacher, but how many people will he take across? And there's competitiveness.
That's right.
And this interesting thing you'll see in the video with Fred Donaldson, children don't have competitiveness.
That's right. It's
In
instilled.
their essence, it's instilled in them,
Yeah.
and it's been leaking into spiritual teachers. And here I am, I can't believe this. I'm doing these interviews with other teachers, and Gabor supports me. He's so excited for me. He watches them with me. He makes notes. He learns different expressions from what teacher says. Like, he doesn't mind. There's no sense of competition. There's no sense of, oh, well, I say it this way and he shouldn't say it that way. And it's, and I keep waiting for it to happen.
Well, I don't have to go further than the fact that you and Gabor I know you're listening to Robert's broadcast every Sunday. And
Yeah.
not only are you listening, I feel you, and then you write this amazing response. And I thought, oh my God, we live in a perfect world right now, right here.
Yeah.
Right now. And this is how it can be. And we're just going to expand this.
Well, when we listen to Robert, we're not listening with our intellects. We're not comparing it to something else that we've heard before. We're not doing correlative work. We're not
research.
we're not doing research. I can't remember even. It's not even in memory. It's an experience.
Right.
And when we're being present with it, even though Robert may use different terms than maybe Gabor uses when he's lecturing, but it doesn't feel different.
No.
It's the underlying being and love is there, and the magic that happens, and it's always there. And the interesting thing is, Robert always ends by saying, I wish you life full of perfect life, perfect health, and a magical
future.
Yes. And every time he says it, I feel it feels like this is the first time that somebody wishes me good health and actually means it. It's not just, and not that others don't wish me well, but there isn't the same intensity of wishing it for me. It's not as, there isn't that sincerity that comes from the original self, like I feel when Robert says it. Even though he says, usually when people say the same word again and again, you hear it, it doesn't carry the same weight anymore because, oh yeah, I heard those words. But it's not the same like when Robert says it. And that's how you know that it's coming from being. It's not a mind regurgitating something that has been memorized.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's a little something. You just said the word sincere. And I found out it comes from the Italian sincere.
Oh.
And they have boxes where they're shipping fragile dishes or something. And it says sincere. And it means without a crack.
Wow.
It's whole.
Wow.
That really stuck. Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing that you bring that up because in Hungarian, the word for sincere is őszinte, and is God. So it
Ah,
has the word God in it.
ah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
Like Gabor just said, it means on the level of God.
Right.
It means to be on the level of God.
Yeah.
That's what sincere means.
I love that.
Yeah,
Boy.
yeah.
I think we're going to have to get our men sitting next to us. It's just like, but in effect, they are sitting next to us.
Yeah. Well, Barbara, you've embodied it. You're you're the living evidence and embodiment of someone who's embodied. I keep saying what Robert is all about.
Yeah.
And it's it's they're not missing. And
It's-
and maybe we will bring them out if it feels right.
There is something I really would like to just share with you about the
Please.
excitement of living with Robert. And that is, if anyone were to look at him during the day, they'd say, what does he do? What is he doing? He's not doing anything. However, just on the other side of this wall, there's a breezeway and there's a shed. And I want you and Gabor to come and visit. So you have to go into that shed because there's the magic. And yes, Robert has an electrical engineering background and all that good stuff. But he's been introduced to Gans. You know what Gans is? Okay. I reviewed it with him this morning. Gans is gas as nano state. And I said, okay, what's nano? He said infinitesimal. So at any rate, it's an energy, and it's an energy that if you apply it to your body, it knows what you need.
Wow.
And it goes out to the universe and brings the plasma that you are calling for. Now, if that's not magic, I'll eat my hat. So,
You gave me.
so at any rate, it all started out very simply with he takes copper and he dips it in something or other. It's very magical. And this is nano-coated metal. So if you have a sore or you have an ache, you put it on yourself with tape and you lift it off. A day later, it's gone.
Wow.
That's another magic. I mean, so many things have happened.
You sent us the balls. You sent
Good.
us the golf balls, and every now and then Gabor will just lie down on this little couch where he likes to lie down, and he holds the balls with it in his hands, and he feels so good.
You know, it's screwy, it works, and that's what it is. Now, here are the ones you're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Now, one has blue Robert's signature, and one has a green signature.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the way I remember. And by the way, they're filled with Gans. All right? The green is for everything. I put this in my hydrator in the refrigerator, and vegetables last forever.
Oh.
And blue is for you. So I drink water, but I just throw this into the glass. You could do that too, because you've got them.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. And then this is what we have as a little medical kit, because in here is
bring it up higher, Barbara, so we can.
Sorry, a little medical kit. If I told you what we made it out of, you wouldn't believe me. But anyway, it has Gans and it has a tiny little healing plate.
Ah.
The healing patch. So we sit in the kitchen and we make healing patches. So and Genya and I are planning to really get them because we've sent them out to many people and they're saying it works.
Yeah.
But the very first thing he showed was this.
Oh, yes.
The wand.
Yes.
And now this, I mean, you feel kind of stupid. You go, and what does it do? It does, because nano-coated. We have a lot of people out there with these magic wands. It's really quite wonderful.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing I want to show you is this glass.
Oh.
And you and Gabor are going to be here in person for a broadcast. Because after the broadcast, we toast each other, we toast Robert with pink champagne and a bottle that says, "Celebrate with Robert." I mean, a glass. So, again, for show and tell.
Well,
So celebration is very important.
absolutely.
That's the other thing I learned. Do nothing and celebrate all the time.
Yes. Yes.
And there's another thing. I mean, we're far from perfect. I'm far from perfect. But if he senses that I'm down, no compassion. Get out of the hole and get on top of the wave.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yeah.
But it's not allowed. You just cannot go down.
I
It's
know.
not allowed. So,
I get that too.
yeah.
No thinking. No thinking.
Well, I have an easier time because I say, okay, I'm going to be on top of the wave. And we have a wonderful surf here. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
else? What other little?
Well, it's there's so much. One other thing, as you know, we've both been in similar teachings in the past, and it's not just those teachings. In a lot of teachings today, there is a fake demand to be blissful, and and you have to suppress everything else. And unless you're present, you unless you're being able to be happy, joyful, compassionate, forgiving, and all those qualities that people assign to anyone who's remotely spiritual, those do not come unless other than from being, from a place of being awake. Otherwise, if we're cultivating those, it's fake, and we recognize that. And so there's been a lot of fakeness in my experience and people around me in other situations. And one of the things that causes is suppression.
Totally.
Suppression of how we really feel. And feeling, I remember if I was ever in a bad mood, boy, I was scolded, and we would get messages, make sure you smile. But I am happy. Well, no, you have to smile. You have to, yeah, your face has to show it. Why? You know?
Bad publicity.
Yeah. Yeah. No one wants to think that this teaching is people are suffering, or so, God forbid. And so when I came to Gabor, and this big shift happened within me, things that I have suppressed has started to come up to leave, in order to leave. And I can no longer suppress. And
Right.
initially, I didn't know what to do with them, because all I knew was how to suppress them. And now I can't suppress them anymore. So I had to learn how to be with them, with those things that came up. And it's okay if they're ugly. It's okay if they're not desirable. It's okay if they're filled with anxiety or fear or sadness or whatever. It's okay, because if I try to push them away like I did before, it's not going to go away. The only way to heal from those is to be present with them, is to be, like you said, to ride the wave, or to be in that elevated platform of living. And that's the only way to give those feelings the freedom to leave us, to be and then to leave, to be and then to leave if they're not wanted. And otherwise it's never going to end. So that was one thing that I'm very grateful for. And I'm also very grateful that Gabor gets that and understands that, because I've had some doozies. When some of these things have come out, and he's been so patient with me and so understanding, and there's no judgment. There's never any judgment, even if there's correction. And you and I, we've talked sometimes, and sometimes it feels like we're being scolded, but it's not. The feeling of being scolded is from the past, because in the past it was, no, you can't do that, you can't feel that. But it's not like that. There's no judgment. There's just a bringing back, honing us back. It's like it's like a lighthouse telling us where the shore is.
It's not a ship.
No, and not a shipwreck either. So
Yeah.
it's I'm very grateful for that. That's been very, very helpful, to have a safe place to be able to be as I am, with the flaws, with the sparkle, whatever it is. It's what I am, and it's okay.
Well, now that you mentioned that, but what is not okay is to justify this thing that's not so nice by telling a story from the past.
Yes.
And Robert said, I'm not at all interested. And if I mentioned something, he said, you already told me that 3 times.
Oh dear.
So what has happened is that the past has been allowed to float away.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is simply amazing.
Yeah. 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 Well, Gabor and I hardly ever talk about the past, come to think of it.
There's so much in the future.
Yeah.
And Robert says, oh my God, it's beyond your imagination what is coming. And when he talks about the future, he said, think future and bring it toward you, and it will affect your present. I mean, there's so many things that have just become part of us that are precious. And I mentioned Genya before. She has jumped in and she does all the broadcasting. God bless her. I wouldn't even know how to start. And we were having dinner last night. And she's very, she's natural. She's about a month older than my daughter, who I can't ever have this conversation with. And she said, it just makes me so mad. I said, what makes you mad? That no one gets it. And I said, there are many, many years and many, many layers, and they have to give them up. She said, but what? And then Robert will remind her of what she had to go through. But why don't they just see it?
Yeah. We get that too, and I think from where we're sitting, what it boils down to is it's very hard for people to be simple. The simplicity is something that we have to be willing to accept, and that's the hard part, because we're not used to it. We've been programmed and conditioned with complexity. More is better. Something harder, work hard, accomplish more, be more complicated. I remember when I was growing up, the more complicated you were, the more interesting you were.
Right, that's right.
But what is interesting? Interesting is only to the mind.
That's
Be
right.
care
It's
less.
something to chew on.
What's that?
It's now the mind always has something to chew on.
Yeah. It wants something fascinating. It wants something interesting. It wants something to do to keep
Right.
it alive. And but if you go just a little bit beneath that to the simplicity and to that peace, it's just you realize that you don't really need it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's when you feel whole in your own being, it's
Oh, I remember one of the first things that Robert taught me was if you have something that you have to deal with and you're not dealing with it and you can't stay on top of it and it's you just want to get rid of it, give it to the trees.
yes.
They live on your garbage and you live on what they offer.
Yeah.
His story is amazing. Just, yeah, more and more of his story is coming to light. And of course, I had never heard of a walk-in before, but I'm married to one. And I
Yeah.
just wish that I had been there to greet him
Mm.
because he met up with some rather strange ones in Australia.
Yeah.
And I feel, well, Robert, there's so much. Robert said that he's always known me.
Mm.
And you were talking about children before. And he said this several times. And he said, at 3 years old, you determine what's real.
Mm.
And you go and you look around and you say, okay. And you live the rest of your life believing that. And he is telling me what I did when I was 3. He said, I've been watching you. Of that. It's just so amazing.
Mm. Yeah.
It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah.
But then I hear Gabor's story and what he did. He just walked into nature. He walked back
Yeah.
into the real.
Yeah. Well, in a way, he was fortunate that he was left alone a lot when he was a child. I've never heard anyone talk about his childhood like he does. His mother left when he was 6, and everybody thinks, "Oh my God, the poor thing. He must be so disturbed." And he said that's probably one of the best things that ever happened to him because he didn't have to take on her conditioning.
That's right.
And he was left alone a lot, and he talked to the flowers, and he felt like he was one with nature. He didn't have much use for grown-ups. You know, all he saw, he just didn't understand why. You know, of course, he grew up in communist Hungary, and there was the revolution, and his father was kept being taken away and beaten in jail and brought back, and it was really very chaotic.
He had to escape.
Yeah, there's a
He
lot of violence. He grew up in the midst of so much violence. But that's what gave him the desire to be free, and he had this attitude of "Don't fuck with me," you know, and you know, which is wonderful. And most kids are beaten into submission, and
Right.
that didn't go too well for him. he didn't he didn't take on, you know, that. He was always independent and felt his way and thought his way, and it was very helpful to him.
Did you ever watch any of the movies about heaven and Clarence and Stairway to Heaven, and the wrong person has died, and they say, "Oh my God, it wasn't his time. You have to go down and finish that life." And
Oh, Heaven Can Wait.
oh my God, I just adored those movies.
Yeah.
Well, now I get to know somebody who lived it,
Ah.
and he didn't want to come. And the person, the original Robert Young, had a fatal accident.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert tells the story and how he came in and he had trouble working the fingers and the hand because he had to get in there. And I've heard the story so many times, and I don't know if our listeners know about all of this.
Tell us.
But there was the accident happened. A postal truck hit straight on the highway in Australia, going from Sydney to Newcastle, and the car was wrecked. And Robert said, I was standing outside the car.
Wow.
And a nurse and a doctor appeared, and the nurse put me in the back seat. And to make a long story short, the cleanup crew came, and they said, well, there's no one there. So they went away. There's a wonderful interview on our website. It's much better because he tells the story. But they took him by ambulance, and they took him to the hospital, and he was fine, but he was having trouble with the body. And the guy said, "Oh, every time they went around the corner, his bones crushed or what." He said, "I'm fine," because he wasn't in there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it took him 5 years to assimilate to this world.
To integrate.
Crazy here. And the only friends he had were the trees.
Yeah.
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 So I mean, it's an amazing story, and I keep seeing it as a movie.
Yeah.
But one day the audience will be there for it. But it is on our website.
Yeah.
So that's why he is so dear.
It will be on the credits, so please go and to the website and check out Robert's story. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, did you ever interview Gabor?
Oh yes.
So is his whole story up on a website somewhere?
With his whole story, actually, most of his story is on Conscious TV. He was interviewed on Conscious TV by Ian McNay.
You know what? I watched it because I know the story, so I must have.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
He tells his story there. I have interviewed him. He has a video called Functional Silence, where I asked him to share the how-to, so to help people in their own awakening. And also there's a video, Knock Knock. There's another video. There's many videos. If you
and Silent Roar.
No, if you go on my channel, there's a lot of videos of me interviewing him, and also on his website. I'll be posting his website as
Wonderful.
well. And
now there's something else that I have been wanting to do this, and you're giving me the idea that maybe I'm supposed to interview Robert.
sure.
Because Robert knows the body so well. It's just that's what he knows. And all right, two things. We were talking to this mutual friend of ours we mentioned before, Susan Terry, and she said she had just had a heart attack. I mean, I'm not used to someone my age saying, "I just had a heart attack." It's ridiculous. So Robert taught her what he taught me a long time ago, and this has got to be shared. Every time you have a pain in your heart, there is a spot right under your arm where it is excruciating and it hurts. And you have to find it. And when you find it, press on it. And it regulates your heartbeat. That's life-saving.
Yeah, that's
That is life-saving. So many tips that he does automatically in healing and whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a wealth of information, and I can't tell you how excited I am that we're sharing this, and that I think we're gathering friends as we speak.
I think so too. And by the way, I have interviewed, as you know, I have interviewed Robert.
That's right, you did.
You can find his interview also on my channel and also on my website. And it's on my website, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and I hope to do that again soon. Yeah. So I feel like we've covered a lot of ground tonight, or this morning for you. And
and maybe one day I'll interview Gabor.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Yeah, maybe one day the four of us will interview all each other.
But I do see you here in Santa Barbara.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
We'd love to be there.
Great.
Yeah. So it's almost time for your lunch and for my midnight snack.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up now. And please, if you found this valuable, there's so much more that we can share with you, and we'd love to share with you. So let us know how you feel about it by subscribing to my channel, by sharing this video with other people. Go on the channel and or to our websites and see other interviews, and we'll be happy to continue to do it.
And the other thing is, the broadcasts are every Sunday at 12 noon Pacific Daylight Time. And if you write directly to me at Barbara Young 08,
I'll put that on why don't you email that to me and I'll post it on the credits.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is if they write to me and say they enjoyed this, I will invite them as my guest to the Sunday broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah, that will spread the gifts.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much.
Nurit.
It's been so wonderful to connect with you on this level and this medium. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as Barbara and I have. We'd love to expand the family of people who have found something wonderful and magical.
Yes.
So thanks again, and God bless.
Édes lehet az a krémes, mit a lányok esznek, de nekem nem vesznek. Ezért, hogyha álmodik a babszika, egy színarany taxiba beleül is a mennyekbe száll. Ottan mennyországi boltba van sok ezer torta, és nem kell állni sorba. Sütemény csak annak szabad ennie, akinek nincs senkie, aki járva és